Hi everyone, I'm Yuda, an immigration lawyer in Japan. Today, I'll be talking about some common reasons why permanent residency applications get rejected. First off, the approval rate for permanent residency is said to be around 50%. So unfortunately, about 1 out of every 2 people ends up getting denied. Now you might be wondering, what kinds of things cause people to get rejected? Well, I've listed some of the most common reasons here, and I'd like to go through them one by one. Alright, first up is annual income. Specifically, if your income is less than 3 million yen a year. You've probably heard about this income requirement before. And yes, the basic rule is that you need to be earning at least 3 million yen annually. On top of that, if you have dependents like a spouse who doesn't work, you'll need to add around 200,000 yen per person to that amount. So let's say you're a foreign national and your wife is a full-time homemaker. If the two of you are applying for permanent residency together, then your required income would be 3 million yen plus 200,000 yen, that's 3.2 million yen. If you're earning less than that, your application will likely be denied. Also, if you're applying from a working visa status, like engineer or specialist in humanities, immigration will look at your income over the past 5 years. So in your case, you'd need to be earning 3.2 million yen or more every year for 5 years straight to meet the requirement. Next up is excessive time spent outside Japan. So, just to clarify, the basic requirement for permanent residency is that you need to have lived in Japan for 10 years. There are some exceptions, like for highly skilled professionals or spouses of Japanese nationals, but for most people, it's 10 years. Now here's where people get tripped up. If during those 10 years you spend more than 6 months abroad in any given year, your residency clock gets reset. So you really have to be careful. To be more specific, if you're out of Japan for about 6 months in a year, there's a good chance your application will be rejected. That said, if there's a solid reason for your time abroad, immigration may accept it. For example, maybe you had a year with a lot of business trips overseas. That can be okay as long as you explain it properly in a written statement. But if you don't have a good reason, like if you just went back to your home country with no real explanation, it's very likely your application will be denied. Alright, next is the issue of unpaid or late payments for pension, health insurance, and taxes. For pension and health insurance, immigration will check your payment record for the past 2 years. So of course, just being enrolled isn't enough. You also need to make sure you haven't missed a single payment. Even one late payment in those 2 years can get your application rejected. As for taxes, they'll usually check your record for the past 5 years. So like I mentioned earlier, if you were late even once on your taxes during that 5-year period, there's a real risk your application could be denied. Next up is traffic violations. And honestly, this catches a lot of people off guard. If you've ever had your driver's license suspended, you need to wait 5 full years after the suspension ends before you can get approved for permanent residency. So if you've had a suspension in the past, be extra careful. Just think of it this way. You won't be eligible for 5 years after the suspension is lifted. And lastly, let's talk about illegal work activities by your partner. So for example, if you're applying for permanent residency as a family, your spouse might be on a dependent visa and working part-time with permission for activities outside their visa status. That permission only allows up to 28 hours of part-time work per week. But in reality, there are quite a few people who go over that limit and earn more than they're legally allowed to. The problem is, if your partner violates those conditions, it can actually affect your own application too, even though you're the main applicant. So yeah, this is something you definitely want to watch out for. So that wraps up my explanation of the most common reasons why permanent residency applications get denied. As long as you follow these key points carefully, there's a good chance your application will be approved. So before you apply, make sure to double check everything we've talked about today. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.